Manor Lords is releasing to early access over the next few days, and having played it over 20 hours prior to the launch, I can safely say that I have fallen instantly in love with this medieval city builder. But is it right for you? Now, in its early access stage, I'm pleased to say it's shaping up to be the perfect blend of the economy and logistics games like Stronghold or Banished, with elements of grand strategy similar to Total War. All games which I very much loved growing up, and why I just had to show this gem of a game on my channel. Now, starting off with a small settlers camp consisting of 5 families, it is your responsibility to manage your families, dedicating each to food production, whether that's hunting, gathering or farming. You'll also have to worry about wood cutting, whether that's for firewood or lumber for building, and also item production such as longbows and shields. And on top of this, you'll also need workers dedicated to building, cloth making, smithing, trading and so on, which is a beautiful balance in itself. Even at this early stage, the choices available to us are plentiful, and I can see the options available to us only deepening as the game develops. Currently, we have 3 game scenarios available, but with more planned in the future. The first is peaceful settlement building. The second about retaking the territories owned by an illegitimate baron, and another about building a settlement whilst defending it from the occasional attack from bandits. Now, I love the options that are available, though I do feel that these modes are lacking any real difficulty as it stands. And once you get through the basic survival production and you get all of that on the go, it does become quite easy to scale your settlement if given enough time. My largest city so far is about 300 families, but I'm tempted to see if we can push this to over 5,000 over the next few weeks on my stream channel, twitch.tv/Totalxclipse, if you do want to join me there. Now, starting off with our band of not so merry men, I've decided to retake the regions held by an illegitimate baron. The map is static from my understanding so far, though the land fertility and resources may switch locations, adding a little variation, but again I expect us to have more maps in the future. We'll also have usable water, and they're also working on an AI city building system, so I expect some game modes relating to that further down the line. Now, when it does come to your settlement, you're going to need to be storing your items, otherwise they'll take damage during weather events. So early on you should prioritize basic production and storage, though this won't defend against bandits who will occasionally steal food and other resources. Now, as you provide houses, you build markets and supply your people, your ratings are going to improve, and once it's above 50%, you're going to start to have new families joining your settlement. Now, I love the building system in this game, though it still needs some work, but placing down plot points for houses gives room for larger gardens, which can be used to also grow things like vegetables or orchards to help supply your community with food variety. I'd also love them to give us more than just 4 placement points, and I would also love the ability to choose if a plot should have multiple houses or just be one single large plot of land so that we can do larger farms. Now, I have played with the game modes multiple times on its most challenging difficulty, and it's apparent that in the early game it is the most challenging, because despite the lack of families to feed you, you're going to be struggling with balancing the production of food and wood whilst maintaining your rating, and if it drops below 20, you're going to start to see families leave, and this becomes a certain death spiral, and the enemy bandit camp stealing goods just exasperates the whole situation. Though these can be destroyed, and if you do, it brings your region wealth, or it can even be dedicated to your own coffers should you wish. However, for that you're going to need to grow a large enough population so that you'll have sufficient men of fighting age to take up the fight. Faith in game as of yet seems to have little importance for now, providing only a buff to your people's happiness, but that alone is important enough to building a church. And having a church also allows you to bury your dead and will provide housing with one of the many requirements that are required in order to upgrade the houses. Now this is really important because your house level determines your monthly income and the amount of special workplaces that you have, such as artisan bakeries or bow makers and shoemakers, as well as your settlement's size. And as your settlement grows, you will be given regional development points to help the region grow. And if you choose to specialize in certain industries, such as armor making, farming, or trading, you can actually specialize your whole region. And yes, you can have multiple regions, and in each region have your own village, but in order to unlock that, you're going to have to build your manor house first, and also have earned enough coin and influence in order to purchase and take those regions. This is actually a great little addition, but I definitely want to see what the development tree has to offer further down the line, as we have little choice for now as everything's locked in early access. Now the building and economy system alone make it worth playing, though I feel the developers can go more in depth with this, and I very much hope that they will add more variety to the game, perhaps having different regions that are particularly rich in with certain resources, like multiple animal hunting sites, or perhaps they may not have any rich deposits at all, forcing you to focus on moving to other regions earlier on rather than later. The same could be said for more varied resources such as fishing, which is planned to be added if I remember rightly, or the ability to farm cows and make dairy products. Now what makes this game stand out to others in its category though is its graphics, the sound design, and the general atmosphere. The seasons pass by beautifully, whether that's a bone-chilling winter or a blazing hot summer in famine. The music and the sound effects really fit perfectly within the game, and your settlers are always constantly working away. You can even drop down and see the hustle and bustle of your markets and watch the towns grow, or if combat is your thing, then waltz around the battlefield as your armies do battle and watch everyone kill over and die. Speaking of battle, mustering troops requires you to select a unit, and your settlement will muster as many soldiers as you have weapons and shields for, as well as the population to support that you have available that's suitable for fighting. Should you have coin though, you can always hire mercenaries, but of course they're expensive, but that does mean that it's worth investing in trading early on so you do have coin in case you need it. When it comes to battle, the combat mechanics are pretty simple. You can choose the unit to press on an attack or take a defensive or balanced approach. With archers you can fire volleys or fire at will and choose whether to shoot into friendly units. The strategy here is really limited in that regard, at least currently, and the AI always seems to know where your troops are, so it's impossible to set up ambushes, which is a shame. I'd love to see that added in the game. As it stands, we only seem to be able to host a small force as well, of about 6 or 7 units, even if you're mustering troops from multiple regions, unless you're able to hire some mercenaries. And as it stands, we only have a selection of about 6 different units for the time being, though we can upgrade their armor. Once you have your manor house, you do get access to a retinue. And I love this system because you can customize them, though it can be quite time consuming. Personally, I would love on the whole just to see more varied troops such as crossbowmen and horsemen, and also see a visual difference in a light armored troop versus a heavily armored troop as well. Also on the topic of horsemen, it would actually give us a really good reason to purchase more horses in our settlement, and also make it more difficult to sustain our budding settlement, and also give us more risk when it comes to taking the fight to our enemy. Do we want to risk our livestock, our horses that can be quite expensive, just so that we have the advantage of mounted units? I'd also love to see much larger armies fielded in this game and make it more punishing if you lose people in battle. That's not to say that combat in the game in its current form isn't enjoyable. It's a fantastic start, especially for such a small dev team, but it once again feels a touch too easy for my liking, and the strategy side of combat feels just a little bit weak. But it does give Total War a run for its money, especially on the regional small-scale conflict side of things, which Manor Lords is targeting. But at this early stage in the development, I am impressed and left excited as to what is planned for the future. I think they also mentioned about adding castle sieges, which would be really cool as well. Now, another sparse but very promising mechanic is the castle building system, speaking of sieges. Currently, you're limited to placing your manor as well as a small wall around it, and should you wish, a garrison which will increase the size of your retinue. The perk of building the castle, though, is that it allows you to tax your citizens, allowing you to spend money on what you think is necessary, such as mercenaries or improving and growing your retinue, and I'm sure this will be expanded upon in the future. I'm also hoping that maybe we can eventually do much larger walls. I know you can add curtain walls, but maybe walls for the whole settlement as well in the long term. That would be very resource intensive. Altogether though, this game brings logistics, economy and strategy packed in a beautiful, lively world, and it's a game that any loving fan of the medieval RTS and city building genre should support throughout its early access development. It may not be as difficult or have as much replayability as one may hope for, but you will definitely have hours of fun growing your own thriving town, bustling with trade. And I'm sure this game will only improve as it reaches its full release. My only real disappointment so far is that it won't feature multiplayer, so I'll have to wait and see how challenging the AI will become. But if you like my review, guys, do hit the thumbs up, and if you are interested in the game, do make sure to check the link in the comment and description below. I'll put a link to the Steam page for you so that you can check it out. And let me know what you'd love to see added to the game, or whether you're going to get it, in the comments below. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Soloxclipse patron Firefless, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben and Star, and our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Papa Snoozy. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.